On November 15th, 2010, my daughter Nicole stood at my front door with her 5-year-old son and said, "Mom, I can't do this anymore. I'm drowning." I'm Shirley Brooks. I'm 68 years old, and I want to tell you my story. If you're listening from somewhere far away, drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this has traveled. And please stay with me until the end. I didn't cry that day. I didn't argue or beg her to reconsider. I looked at my daughter, 32 years old with dark circles under her eyes and healing scars on her left wrist, and I said, "Okay, baby, come inside." That okay changed everything, because 11 years later, when Nicole came back with a lawyer and documents claiming she'd been there all along, I had something she didn't expect. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning. November 15th, 2010. The day everything changed. It was 4:47 in the afternoon when Nicole's silver Honda Civic pulled into my driveway on Oakwood Avenue in the West End neighborhood of Atlanta. I was washing collard greens in the kitchen sink, getting ready to make dinner. Through the window, I watched her sit in the car for a full 3 minutes before opening the door. When she finally got out, she moved like someone carrying a weight too heavy to bear. Jordan, my grandson, sat in the back seat. He didn't move, just stared straight ahead, rocking slightly, heel to toe, the way he did when the world felt too loud. I dried my hands on my apron and opened the front door before Nicole could knock. "Mom," she said. Her voice was flat, empty. "Nicole." I looked past her to Jordan in the car. "Is he okay?" She stopped, swallowed hard. "Can we come in?" I stepped aside. Nicole walked to the car and opened the back door. "Jordan, baby, we're going to Grandma's house for a little while." Jordan didn't respond, didn't look at her, just kept rocking. Nicole reached in to unbuckle him, and he screamed. Not crying, just a sharp, piercing sound that made Mrs. Henderson next door look up from watering her roses. Nicole pulled her hand back like she'd been burned. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I'm sorry. I walked to the car. "Jordan, honey, it's Nana Shirley. Do you want to come see what I'm making for dinner?" He didn't answer, but the rocking slowed. After a moment, he unbuckled himself and climbed out of the car. He walked straight past both of us, into my house, still covering his ears with his small hands. Nicole grabbed a backpack from the trunk, one single backpack, light enough that I knew it couldn't hold more than 2 days' worth of clothes. She pulled out a white envelope and pressed it into my hand. "There's $800 in there," she said. "It's all I have." "Nicole, what's going on?" She looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes that terrified me more than anything she could have said. It wasn't sadness. It was absence. Like she'd already left, and only her body remained. "I can't be his mother anymore, Mom. I've tried. God knows I've tried. But every time he screams, every time he won't look at me, every time I have to explain to people why my son won't hug me or say he loves me, I feel like I'm disappearing. Nicole, I know what you're going to say, that he's autistic, that it's not his fault, that he needs me." Her voice cracked. "But I don't have anything left to give him. I'm empty, and if I stay..." She pushed up the sleeve of her cardigan, showing me the healing scars on her wrist. "I won't make it." My heart stopped. "Baby, no. 3 weeks ago, Mom, I took every pill in my medicine cabinet. My roommate found me." She pulled her sleeve back down. "The hospital wants me to go to an inpatient facility. They have a bed available Monday. That's in 3 days. I looked at Jordan through the front door. He was standing in my living room, hands still over his ears, staring at the ceiling fan as it turned. "How long?" I asked. "The program is 60 days. But Mom..." She couldn't meet my eyes. "I don't know if I'm coming back for him." There it was, the truth I'd been afraid to hear. "I'm not a good mother. I don't know how to help him. You were a teacher for 35 years. You know how to do this. I don't." I should have been angry, should have demanded she be responsible. But all I could see was my little girl, the one who'd climbed trees in this same yard, who'd sung in the church choir, who'd graduated with honors from Spelman College, completely broken. "Go get help," I said quietly. "I'll take care of Jordan." "Mom, go. Get yourself right. Then we'll figure out what comes next." She hugged me then, hard and desperate. Thank you. I'm so sorry." She got back in her car without saying goodbye to Jordan. didn't wave, didn't look back. Just drove away down Oakwood Avenue until the silver car disappeared around the corner. I stood on my porch for a long moment, watching the empty street. Then I turned and went inside to the grandson who'd just lost his mother and didn't even know it yet. Jordan stood in my living room for 2 hours that first evening. Just stood there, hands over his ears, rocking. I tried talking to him, soft, gentle words about dinner and bedtime and how everything would be okay. He didn't respond. At 7 p.m., I made the only thing I knew he would eat. Chicken tenders from the freezer, cut into exact strips, no touching on the plate. I'd watched Nicole feed him enough times to know the rules. I put the plate on the coffee table 3 feet away from him. He looked at it for 10 minutes before he finally moved, sat cross-legged on the floor, picked up one tender, examined it, and took a small bite. He ate 3 pieces, left 2. That night I tried to put him to bed in my guest room, the same room Nicole had slept in growing up. I'd put fresh sheets on the bed, blue ones with stars. Jordan took one look at the room and screamed again. That same sharp sound that went straight through your chest. I took him back to the living room, put a blanket and pillow on the couch. He climbed up, faced the back cushions, and curled into a ball. I sat in my armchair across from him and watched him all night. He hummed. One note, low and steady, for hours. Around 3 a.m., he finally fell silent and slept. I didn't sleep at all. The next morning, November 16th, 2010, I called Nicole's cell phone. No answer. I left a message. Nicole, honey, call me back when you can. I need to know what Jordan eats, what his routines are, when his therapy appointments are scheduled. Call me, please. She didn't call back. I called again that afternoon. Voicemail. I called her roommate, a girl named Ashley from Nicole's work at the clothing store in Lenox Square. Ashley, this is Nicole's mother. Do you know how to reach her? What hospital she's at? Mrs. Brooks, Nicole made me promise not to tell anyone. She said she needed to do this alone. Ashley, I have her 5-year-old son. I need information. Long pause. She's at Ridgeview Institute, but Mrs. Brooks, she was really clear. She doesn't want any contact for the first 30 days. They told her family communication could delay her recovery. I thanked Ashley and hung up. Then I sat at my kitchen table with the white envelope Nicole had given me. Inside was exactly $800 in $20 bills and a handwritten letter on notebook paper. Mom, I know I'm leaving you with an impossible situation. I know Jordan needs more than I ever gave him. His diagnosis is autism spectrum disorder, moderate to severe. He has speech therapy on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. at the Peachtree Pediatric Center on Piedmont Avenue. Occupational therapy. Thursdays at 4 p.m., same place. He takes no medications. His pediatrician is Dr. Susan Chen at Children's Healthcare on Peachtree Road. He only eats 6 things. Chicken tenders, frozen from Kroger, French fries, apple slices, no skin, white bread, toasted, cut diagonal, scrambled eggs, no brown parts, and milk, 2%, not whole. Everything has to be on separate plates or he won't eat. He doesn't like loud noises. The vacuum cleaner terrifies him. So do dogs. He needs the same routine every single day or he melts down. I've tried to change things to help him be flexible, but it just makes it worse. I'm sorry I'm doing this to you. I'm sorry I can't be what he needs. But if I stay, I'm going to hurt him or myself, and he deserves better than that. I love you, Mom. Thank you for being strong enough for both of us. Nicole, I read that letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in the drawer where I kept important papers. I didn't know it then, but that letter would become one of the most important pieces of evidence I'd ever have. That Tuesday, November 17th, 2010, I took Jordan to his speech therapy appointment. The therapist, a young woman named Michelle, looked surprised to see me instead of Nicole. Mrs. Brooks, is Nicole okay? She's getting help for some personal issues. I'll be bringing Jordan for a while. Michelle nodded slowly. How long is a while? I don't know yet. She asked if I had copies of Jordan's treatment plan, his IEP from school, his medical records. I had none of it. Nicole had never given me any of that information. Okay, Michelle said. Let me make copies of everything we have here. You're going to need documentation. That word, documentation, would come to define the next 11 years of my life. But on November 17th, 2010, I didn't know that yet. I just knew I had a 5-year-old grandson who wouldn't speak, wouldn't look at me, and whose entire world had just collapsed. By December 2010, I'd learned more about autism than I'd learned in 35 years of teaching. I took Jordan to a developmental pediatrician, Dr. Patricia Williams at the Marcus Autism Center, who did a comprehensive evaluation on December 8, 2010. Her report was 19 pages long. I still have it. It said, Jordan Brooks, age 5 years, 1 month, meets DSM-4 criteria for autism spectrum disorder. Significant impairments in social communication, restricted interests, sensory sensitivities. Nonverbal IQ testing suggests average to above average cognitive abilities, but communication barriers prevent accurate assessment. Recommend intensive speech therapy twice weekly, occupational therapy twice weekly, behavioral therapy once weekly. Prognosis: guarded but hopeful with appropriate intervention. The therapies cost $1,247.50 per month after insurance. I was a retired teacher living on a pension of $2,100 a month. My house was paid off. I'd bought this place with my late husband Marcus in 1978 for $31,000, paid it off in 1998. But still, after utilities, food, and Jordan's therapies, I had about $200 left each month. I sold my 2003 Buick LeSabre in January 2011 for $4,800 and bought a 1998 Honda Accord for $2,200. Put the rest in savings for emergencies. I also filed for guardianship. Not adoption, not custody, temporary guardianship. My lawyer, a kind older man named Robert Chen, who I'd known from church, explained it to me at his office on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive on January 12, 2011. Ms. Brooks, this is tricky. Nicole hasn't terminated her parental rights. She's still legally Jordan's mother. She abandoned him, Mr. Chen. I understand that, but she could argue she placed him in kinship care while seeking treatment. That's different from abandonment in the eyes of the court. So what should I do? He thought for a long moment. Honestly, my advice is to wait. Give it 6 months. If she completes her program and comes back, you establish a custody arrangement. If she doesn't come back, you file for guardianship based on abandonment. But if you file now, he leaned forward. Ms. Brooks, I'm going to be very candid with you. You're a 60-year-old black woman living in the West End. Jordan is a special needs child. If you file for guardianship now, and Nicole contests it, the court might decide to involve Child Protective Services. And there's a chance, not a large chance, but a chance, that they could place Jordan in foster care while they sort it out. My blood ran cold. They'd take him away from me? It's unlikely, but possible. The system doesn't always trust grandmothers to raise special needs children, especially if there's a dispute with the biological parent. So I do nothing? You document everything. Keep records of every therapy session, every meal, every expense, every day. You build a case that you are Jordan's primary caregiver and have been since November 2010. Then, when the time is right, you file. And you have so much documentation that no judge in their right mind would question your guardianship. I took his advice. I bought a 3-ring binder from Office Depot on January 15, 2011 for $12.99. In that binder, I started keeping everything. Medical appointment summaries, every visit with date and time, therapy session notes, copies from each therapist, school enrollment papers. I enrolled Jordan in kindergarten at Parks Elementary School on January 19, 2011. Bank statements showing all of Jordan's expenses, receipts from Kroger for his food, calendars where I wrote down his daily schedule. I didn't know it then, but that $12.99 binder would eventually save everything. Jordan started talking in March 2011. Not full sentences, just single words. Milk. No. Done. But on March 23, 2011, something remarkable happened. I'd bought him a set of magnetic letters, the kind you stick on the refrigerator, from Target for $8.99. Just cheap plastic letters in bright colors. I thought maybe he'd like arranging them. He loved them. For 3 weeks, he arranged and rearranged those letters on my refrigerator. Not into words, into patterns. Groups of 3, always 3, sorted by color. Red, red, red in one row. Blue, blue, blue below it. Yellow, yellow, yellow below that. Then, on March 23rd, he did something different. I came into the kitchen at 7 a.m. to make his eggs, and there on the refrigerator was a perfect timeline. MONTUEWEDTHUFRISATSUN, the days of the week, not spelled out fully, but abbreviated. Perfect three-letter groups. "Jordan," I said softly, "did you do this?" He didn't look at me, just hummed that low note he always hummed. But I knew he'd done it, and I knew what it meant. He was organizing time, making sense of the chaos by putting it in order. I took a photo of that refrigerator with my Nokia flip phone. The photo quality was terrible, all pixelated, but I saved it. That photo is dated March 23rd, 2011, 7:04 a.m. Dr. Williams called it pattern recognition. She said Jordan's brain saw order and structure in things that looked random to most people. Some autistic individuals have an extraordinary ability to identify patterns, she told me on March 30th, 2011. Jordan might be one of them. Encourage it. Give him more structured systems to explore. So I did. I bought him notebooks, the cheap composition books from Dollar Tree, $1 each. I bought him a pack of colored pencils, and I let him fill those notebooks with whatever he wanted. He filled them with marks, little tick marks, circles, symbols I didn't understand. Page after page after page. By April 2011, he'd filled 3 complete notebooks. "What are these?" I asked him once, pointing to a page covered in groups of 4 tick marks. He pointed to his calendar on the wall, where I'd marked every day he'd gone to therapy with a star sticker. "Thursday," he said. I counted the groups on his page. 12 groups of 4, 12 Thursdays. He was tracking time. Every single day, he marked which day of the week it was in his notebook. Not in words, in his own system of symbols, but it was precise, accurate, perfect. "Jordan, baby, this is amazing," I said. He nodded once and went back to marking his notebook. On May 3rd, 2011, exactly 5 months and 18 days after she'd left, Nicole called me. "Mom?" Her voice sounded different, clearer, stronger. "Nicole, baby, how are you?" I'm better. I completed the 60-day program. I've been in outpatient care for the last 3 months. I'm sober. I'm on medication for depression. I'm seeing a therapist twice a week." "That's wonderful, honey. I'm so proud of you. How's Jordan?" I looked at him sitting at the kitchen table, drawing symbols in his 4th notebook. "He's doing well. He's in kindergarten now, speech therapy twice a week. He's starting to talk more." Long pause. "Mom, I need to tell you something." My heart sank. "Okay. I'm not coming back to Atlanta. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Nicole, I got a job here in San Francisco, retail management at Nordstrom. It's good money, $42,000 a year. I have my own apartment. I'm building a life, and Mom," her voice broke, "I can't go back to being Jordan's mother. Not right now. Maybe not ever. I can't handle it. I know that makes me a terrible person." "You're not terrible," I said quietly. "You're sick, and you're getting help. Will you keep him? Please? I'll send money when I can. I can't do this." I thought about what Mr. Chen had said, about documenting everything, about building a case. "I'll keep him," I said. "But Nicole, we need to make this official. Legal guardianship papers. Whatever you need. I'll sign anything." But she never did. She never sent guardianship papers. Never sent money, despite her promises. That $42,000 a year job? I'd later learned she was making minimum wage at a different store, not Nordstrom, and living in a shared apartment in the Tenderloin district, barely getting by. But on May 3rd, 2011, I believed her. I believed she'd send papers. I believed she'd send money. I believed we'd figure it out. I was wrong. Between 2011 and 2014, Jordan went to Parks Elementary School. And between 2011 and 2014, I fought more battles with that school system than I'd fought in my entire 35-year teaching career. Principal David Andrews called me to his office on September 18, 2012. "Mrs. Brooks, we need to discuss Jordan's placement." "What about it?" "His teacher, Mrs. Carson, feels he'd be better served in our special education classroom." I'd been expecting this. "Jordan keeps up with the work. His reading is above grade level. It's not about academics, Mrs. Brooks. It's about behavior. He doesn't participate in group activities. He covers his ears during music class. He sits alone at recess. He's autistic, Mr. Andrews. That's who he is. We have a program designed for children with his challenges. No, I stood up. Under IDEA, Jordan has the right to the least restrictive environment. That means the mainstream classroom with appropriate accommodations, not segregation. Mr. Andrews frowned. We're not suggesting segregation. Then what are you suggesting? Long pause. We'll schedule an IEP meeting to discuss accommodations. That IEP meeting happened on October 2nd, 2012. I brought my binder with every piece of documentation I had. I brought copies of Jordan's report cards showing he was doing the academic work. I brought Dr. Williams' most recent evaluation showing his progress. We drafted an IEP with accommodations, noise-canceling headphones for loud activities, extra time for transitions, a quiet corner where Jordan could go when overwhelmed. I won that battle, but there were more. Mrs. Angela Bennett, Jordan's second-grade teacher, called me at home on November 12, 2013, at 6:30 p.m. Mrs. Brooks, Jordan disrupted my math lesson today. What happened? I was teaching multiplication. I put a problem on the board. 7 times 8 equals 56. Jordan stood up and said, "That's wrong." Was it wrong? Pause. I had written it incorrectly, but that's not the point. That's exactly the point, Mrs. Bennett. Jordan was right. Mrs. Brooks, he embarrassed me in front of the entire class. He needs to understand there's a time and place. He's autistic. When he sees something incorrect, he corrects it. That's how his brain works. He needs to learn respect for authority. I took a deep breath, counted to 5. Mrs. Bennett, Jordan isn't being disrespectful. He's being accurate. There's a difference. That conversation led to another IEP meeting. The school psychologist suggested Jordan might have oppositional defiant disorder. I brought 6 months of therapy notes from Dr. Williams explicitly stating Jordan was not defiant, just direct. He didn't understand social hierarchies that said adults were always right, even when they were demonstrably wrong. I won that battle too. But I was getting tired. By age 10, 2015, Jordan was speaking in full sentences. Not perfectly fluent, not comfortable with eye contact, but communicating. And that's when he asked the question I'd been dreading for 5 years. April 14th, 2015. Morning. I was making his eggs and toast, same breakfast he'd eaten every single morning for 5 years. Jordan sat at the table with his notebook, drawing his daily symbols. Nana Shirley? I turned around. He rarely initiated conversation. Yes, baby? Where is my mother? I nearly dropped the spatula. I turned off the stove and sat down across from him. What made you think about that? Kids at school talk about their mothers. I don't have one. You have a mother, Jordan. Her name is Nicole. She's my daughter. Where is she? I thought about lying, making up something gentle, but Jordan could read people better than they realized. He'd know. She left when you were 5 years old. She was very sick, in her mind, not her body, and she couldn't take care of you anymore. So I took care of you instead. He was quiet for a long moment. Is she coming back? I don't know. Do you want her to come back? I considered that carefully. I want you to be happy. If her coming back would make you happy, then yes. It wouldn't, Jordan said simply. You're my Nana. That's better. He went back to drawing in his notebook like the conversation had never happened. But something had shifted. He knew now. He knew his mother had left. And he'd chosen me. Summer 2017. Jordan turned 12 on November 15th, 2017. I bought him a used laptop from the Goodwill on Cascade Road for $175. It was slow, running Windows Vista, barely functional. But it worked. Jordan discovered YouTube. Not videos of kids playing with toys or people doing pranks. Educational videos, programming tutorials, how to create Minecraft mods, Java tutorial for beginners. That's what he was watching when I brought him lunch on June 23, 2017. What's that? I asked. Java programming. You use it to make mods for Minecraft. What's a mod? He tried to explain, but I couldn't follow. Something about modifications to the game, adding new features, custom blocks. Can you do that? I asked. I'm learning. And he did learn. By August 2017, he'd completed a beginner Java course online, free from some website called Codecademy. By September, he'd created his first Minecraft mod, a simple block that changed colors when you clicked it. He showed it to me with something I'd rarely seen on his face: pride. "Jordan, this is incredible." He nodded. "I'm going to make more." In October 2017, I used money I'd been saving from my pension to buy him a better computer, a refurbished Dell desktop from Micro Center for $389. It came with Windows 10, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and enough processing power to actually run programming software smoothly. The man at the counter asked what Jordan would use it for. "Programming," Jordan said, not looking at him. "How old are you?" 12, the man smiled. "Keep at it, kid. You've got the bug." Jordan didn't respond, just waited for me to pay. At home, he set up the computer in his room, which used to be Nicole's room, but was now just his. I'd repainted it blue in 2013, put up shelves for his notebooks and his growing collection of programming books from the library. "Nana Shirley," he said that evening, "can I show you something?" I sat on his bed. He opened a program he'd written, a simple text editor with buttons that could change the font color and size. "This is what I made today." "Today? You made this whole thing today?" "It's not complicated, but I wanted to see if I could do it." "Jordan, baby, this is amazing." He looked at me, actual eye contact, rare but meaningful. "I want to make something that matters, not just games, something real." "Like what?" "I don't know yet, but something that helps people know what's true." I didn't understand what he meant then, but I would. Shirley's voice fades slightly, then returns stronger. "I'll continue if you're still with me, because this is where things start to change. Where my quiet grandson who barely spoke became someone who could see patterns no one else could see. Where the notebooks full of symbols became something far more powerful. But first, let me get a glass of water. This next part. This is where I should have seen what was coming. Where I should have known that Jordan wasn't just processing his past, he was preparing for his future. On January 7th, 2018, Jordan came to me with a request that seemed simple at the time. "Nana Shirley, I want to scan all your papers about me, everything in your binders." I was sitting at the kitchen table paying bills. "That's a lot of scanning, baby. My back can't handle hunching over a scanner for hours." "I'll do all the work. I just need your permission to go through the files." I looked at him. 13 years old now, taller than me by 2 inches, wearing the same serious expression he'd worn since he was 5. "Why do you want to scan them?" He thought for a moment. "Because paper can burn. Water can damage it. Someone could take it. But if it's digital, backed up in multiple places, it can't be destroyed." "Who would want to destroy your school records?" "I don't know, but I want to be prepared." That word, prepared. I should have paid more attention to it. We spent 3 weeks scanning. Every IEP meeting note from 2010 to 2018. Every report card. Every therapy progress note. Every medical appointment summary. Every receipt showing I'd paid for his care. Jordan didn't just scan them. He organized them into folders with names like medical_2010 to 2018, education_IEP_meetings therapy, _speech, _OT, _behavioral financial, _expenses, _proof. "Why such specific names?" I asked on January 21st, 2018, watching him work. "So anyone who looks at these files will immediately know what they contain. No confusion, just facts." He also did something strange. After scanning each document, he'd run it through a program he'd written. Numbers would appear on the screen, long strings of letters and numbers that meant nothing to me. "What's that?" "A hash value. It's like a fingerprint for the document. If anyone tries to change the document later, even by 1 character, the hash value changes. It proves the document is original and unaltered." "Why would anyone change them?" "I don't know, but if they try, I'll be able to prove it." By February 2018, we had everything digitized. Jordan stored copies on his computer, on an external hard drive he'd bought with money he earned doing coding work for a website someone hired him for on a forum, $127, and on a cloud storage service. 3 backups, he said, in different physical locations. That's proper data security. Jordan's 14th year was when he moved from making simple programs to understanding complex systems. He joined online coding communities, forums where programmers shared knowledge. Discord servers where college students and professionals discussed cryptography, blockchain technology, data verification. One programmer, a graduate student at Georgia Tech named David Park, took Jordan under his wing after Jordan posted a question about hash functions on Reddit in March 2018. I still have their chat logs printed out. Jordan showed them to me in 2019. David Park _GT. You're asking about SHA 256? That's pretty advanced for a beginner. What are you trying to build? Jordan B _2005. A system to verify documents are authentic, to prove they haven't been altered. David Park _GT. Ambitious. Why? Jordan B _2005. Because people lie, but digital evidence doesn't if you know how to read it. David Park _GT. How old are you? Jordan B _2005. 13. David Park _GT. Damn. Okay, kid. Let me teach you some things. David became Jordan's online mentor. They video called twice a week. David introduced Jordan to concepts I couldn't even pronounce. Cryptographic hash functions, metadata analysis, digital forensics, blockchain verification chains. Nana Shirley, Jordan told me on May 15, 2018. David says I'm building something that already exists in enterprise software, but costs $50,000 per year to license. He says if I can make it simple enough for regular people to use, it could be valuable. That's wonderful, baby. But remember, you're doing this to learn, not to make money. I know, but it's nice that it might help people. By his 15th birthday, November 15, 2019, Jordan had a working prototype of what he called DocuChain. He showed it to me in his room on his birthday evening. 3 monitors now, all showing different screens of code and interfaces. This is it, he said. Version 0.8. Not finished, but functional. He demonstrated 1. Upload a document. He used one of my old utility bills from 2015. 2. The system analyzes it. Creation date, author, modification history, file metadata 3. It creates a unique hash value 4. It stores that hash in a verification chain 5. Later, if someone tries to claim the document was different, you can re-upload it, and the system will flag any changes. But what if someone creates a fake document? I asked. A forgery? That's the harder problem. For forgeries, you need comparison samples, known authentic documents from the same person, same time period. Then you look for inconsistencies. He pulled up another screen showing signature analysis. See this? This is your signature from 2010 on my birth certificate, and this is your signature from 2018 on a school form. The system compares 47 different data points: pressure patterns, letter formation, spacing, angle, stroke order. And it can tell if someone forged my signature with 94% accuracy. Not perfect, but better than most humans. I stared at the screens. Jordan, this is really something. He nodded. I need to test it more. Make it more accurate. But David thinks I should try to sell it once it's ready. Sell it? To who? Security companies, fraud prevention departments, anyone who needs to verify documents are real. Do you know how to do that? Not yet, but I'll learn. March 2020. The world shut down. Schools closed. Jordan's in-person therapies switched to Zoom calls. Everyone suddenly lived online. Jordan barely noticed the difference. He'd been living in his room with his computers for years already, but the pandemic did something unexpected. It gave him uninterrupted time to finish DocuChain. Between March and October 2020, Jordan worked 6 to 8 hours every day on his software. I'd bring him meals, same chicken tenders, same apple slices, same routine we'd maintained for 10 years. He'd eat without looking away from his screens. Jordan, you need breaks, I'd say. I'm close, Nana. I'm so close to finishing. Ruby Anderson, my best friend who lived 3 houses down on Oakwood Avenue, stopped by on April 23rd, 2020. We stood 6 feet apart on my porch, both wearing masks. How's Jordan handling the shutdown? She asked. Honestly, I don't think he's noticed. He's been building something on his computer for 2 years now, some kind of document verification system. Ruby raised an eyebrow. That boy is special, Shirley. You know that, right? I know he's different. No, honey, he's special. You raised him right. You gave him space to be exactly who he is. I felt tears in my eyes. I just hope it's enough. It's more than enough. You'll see. On October 12, 2020, Jordan called me to his room at 11:30 p.m. "Nana Shirley, it's done." I put on my robe and went to his room. On his center monitor was a clean, simple interface. DocuChain V 1.0 Document Verification and Authentication System. "It's finished?" I asked. "Yes, I've tested it with 10,000 sample documents. Accuracy rate, 96. 3% for detecting alterations, 89.7% for detecting forgeries. That's better than most commercial systems." "Jordan, I'm so proud of you." He looked at me, real eye contact. "I couldn't have done it without you. You kept all those documents. You taught me that documentation matters, that truth matters. What are you going to do with it?" "I'm going to sell it, or license it. I've been researching. David introduced me to someone at a startup accelerator. They want to see a demo." The sale didn't happen overnight. It took 10 months. January 2021, Jordan posted about DocuChain on Reddit's r/cybersecurity forum. Got 847 upvotes and 203 comments. 3 small companies messaged him asking for demos. February 2021, first demo with SecureDoc Solutions, a startup in Austin, Texas. They tested DocuChain with 500 documents. It caught 23 forged documents they'd planted in the test set. Missed 2. "Not bad for a 15-year-old's project," their CTO told Jordan on a Zoom call I listened to from the doorway. "But we need 99% accuracy for enterprise use." March to May 2021. Jordan improved the algorithms, added machine learning components with David's help. New accuracy, 98.1% for alterations, 94.3% for forgeries. June 2021, SecureDoc Solutions made an offer, $50,000 for a perpetual license. Jordan said no. "Why?" I asked him. "Baby, that's a lot of money." "Because David says it's worth more, and because I want to sell it completely. I don't want to maintain it or update it. I want to build other things." July 2021, 2 more companies bid. CyberShield Incorporated offered $125,000. Trust Verify Systems offered $200,000. August 2021, a 4th company entered. Anderson Security Solutions, based in Charlotte, North Carolina. They specialized in corporate fraud prevention and had contracts with 3 Fortune 500 companies. They offered $500,000. Jordan turned 16 on August 15, 2021. 2 weeks later, Anderson Security increased their offer to $850,000 with these terms: $300,000 upfront payment, $275,000 after 6 months, $275,000 after 1 year, 5% royalty on gross revenue for 3 years, estimated $50,000 to $150,000 additional. Non-compete clause: Jordan couldn't build similar software for 3 years. They owned the code completely. I sat with Jordan in our lawyer's office. We'd hired James Mitchell, a family law attorney who also did contract review, on September 8, 2021, going through the paperwork. "Jordan," James said, "this is a serious offer, but you're 16. You can't legally sign a contract. Your grandmother would have to sign as your guardian." "That's fine," Jordan said. "Nana Shirley has made every important decision in my life. This should be no different." James looked at me. "Ms. Brooks, I need to be clear. You don't have formal legal guardianship. You've been operating under informal kinship care for 11 years. If Jordan's mother contested this sale—" "She won't," I said. "She hasn't contacted us in over 10 years. Still, I recommend we establish formal guardianship before signing." "How long does that take?" "Minimum 60 days, usually 90. Jordan shook his head. "Anderson wants to close by October 1st. They're worried a competitor will release something similar. If we delay, they might withdraw the offer." James sighed. "Then we move forward. But Ms. Brooks, understand, if Nicole Patterson ever returns and contests your authority, this could get complicated." "She's not coming back," I said with certainty I didn't actually feel. We signed the contract on September 15, 2021. The first payment, $300,000, arrived in an account James set up in Jordan's name on September 23, 2021. Jordan was 16 years old and had more money than I'd made in my entire 35-year teaching career. The local news found out somehow. A reporter named Kate Morrison from Channel 11 News called me on October 18th, 2021. Ms. Brooks, I'm doing a story about teen entrepreneurs. I heard your grandson created software that sold for nearly $1 million. How did you hear that? Press release from Anderson Security. They're announcing the acquisition. It's public information. I sighed. I didn't want cameras in our house. Didn't want Jordan turned into some inspiration story about the autistic kid who overcame his disability. But Jordan surprised me. I'll do it, he said when I told him. If it helps other autistic people see they can code, it's worth it. Kate came to our house on October 27th, 2021, with a cameraman. She was young, maybe 30, and kind. She asked Jordan questions while filming him at his computer setup. Jordan, what inspired you to create DocuChain? I wanted to know what was real. People lie. Documents can be faked. I wanted a way to prove what actually happened versus what someone claimed happened. That's very insightful. What made you interested in truth and authenticity? Jordan glanced at me, then back at the camera. My mom left when I was 5. She said she'd come back. She didn't. I learned early that what people say and what they do aren't always the same thing. Kate's expression softened. I'm sorry that happened to you. Don't be. My grandmother raised me. She always told me the truth. She documented everything. She showed me that reality matters more than stories. I just made software to prove it. The segment aired on November 5th, 2021. Friday Evening News. 3 minutes and 47 seconds. They titled it, Atlanta Teen with Autism Creates Revolutionary Security Software. They used dramatic music. Showed Jordan looking focused and intense at his computer. Showed me briefly saying, I'm just proud of the man he's becoming. The segment ended with Kate's voiceover. A remarkable young man who turned his unique way of seeing the world into something valuable. Jordan Brooks proves that being different isn't a limitation. It's a superpower. Jordan watched it with me in our living room. When it ended, I asked, How do you feel? Okay. But I noticed something. He wasn't celebrating, wasn't excited. He was watching the front window. What's wrong? I asked. Nothing yet. What do you mean? Nana Shirley, we just told the world I have $850,000, and we told them my mother abandoned me 11 years ago. She's going to see this. My blood went cold. You think she'll come back? I don't know, but if she does, we need to be ready. Ready for what? He looked at me with those serious eyes. To prove what really happened. That's why I built DocuChain. Not for other people. For us. 2 weeks after the news story aired, on November 19th, 2021, at 3:47 p.m., the doorbell rang. I was making Jordan's afternoon snack. Apple slices, no skin, arranged in a circle on the plate the way he liked. Through the front window, I saw a woman standing on my porch. Older than I remembered. Thinner, tired-looking, but unmistakable. Nicole. My hands started shaking. I set down the knife, walked to the door, and opened it. Mom, her voice was quiet, uncertain. Nicole, we stood there for a moment, 11 years compressed into silence. Can I come in? She asked. Why are you here? I saw the news story, about Jordan, about what he built. Her eyes filled with tears. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry for what? For leaving? For never calling? For abandoning your son for 11 years? Yes, for all of it. She was crying now. I was sick. I was broken. I couldn't be what he needed. But I've been sober for 6 years now. I'm in therapy. I have a job. I have my life together. And I wanted to see him, to tell him I'm sorry, to explain. I looked at her carefully. She was telling the truth. I could see it in her eyes. But something felt off, some tension I couldn't name. Does he know you're here? She asked. No, he's in his room. Can I see him? Please? I should have said no, should have closed the door. But she was my daughter, and some part of me, the part that had raised her, loved her, watched her break, wanted to believe people could change. Wait here. I went to Jordan's room. He was at his computer, 3 monitors glowing. Jordan, your mother is here. He didn't turn around, didn't react at all, just kept typing for a moment, then saved his work and swiveled his chair to face me. Okay? Just okay? You're not surprised? I knew she'd come eventually. The news story made it inevitable. He stood up. Let her in. We walked to the living room together. Nicole stood in the doorway, nervous, wringing her hands. Jordan, she said softly, you're so big now. You're almost a man. Jordan looked at her the way he looked at everything. Analytical, measuring, calculating. Hello, he said. Can I hug you? No. Nicole flinched like he'd slapped her. Okay, that's okay. I understand. We sat down, me and Jordan on the couch, Nicole in the armchair across from us. The same chair where I'd sat 11 years ago, watching 5-year-old Jordan sleep. I don't expect you to forgive me, Nicole started. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I wanted to explain. I had severe postpartum depression after you were born. It got worse when you were diagnosed with autism. I didn't know how to help you. Every time you screamed or wouldn't look at me, I felt like I was failing, like I was the worst mother in the world. And eventually, her voice broke. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. I thought you'd be better without me. Jordan listened without expression. Were you right? What? Was I better without you? Nicole looked at me, tears streaming down her face. Yes, you were. Your grandmother gave you everything I couldn't. She's a better parent than I ever was. Then why are you here? Because I wanted to tell you I'm sorry. Because I wanted you to know I didn't stop loving you. I just couldn't be near you without breaking. Jordan nodded once. Okay. Can I visit sometimes? Get to know you again? Jordan looked at me. I didn't know what to say. You can visit, Jordan said finally. But Nana Shirley is my parent, not you. Do you understand? Yes, Nicole whispered. I understand. She visited 3 times over the next 2 weeks. November 22nd, 2021. She brought Jordan books about advanced programming. He read them. November 26th, 2021. She asked about his childhood, his school, his therapies. He answered in short sentences. November 30th, 2021. She stayed for dinner. We ate in awkward silence. Each visit I watched her carefully. She seemed genuine, seemed truly sorry, seemed to respect boundaries. But Jordan was watching her differently. I'd catch him staring at her when she wasn't looking, not with longing or anger, with calculation. What are you thinking? I asked him after she left on November 30th. She took photos, he said. What? During her second visit, when she asked to use the bathroom, I heard her camera click 3 times. She was photographing something. Maybe she wanted pictures of the house, memories? Maybe, Jordan said, but he didn't believe it. I could tell. What do you think she was photographing? Your file cabinet in the hallway, the one with all the binders. My stomach dropped. Why would she? I don't know yet, but she's looking for something. Information, maybe. Documentation. Jordan, you're being paranoid. Am I? He pulled up his laptop, opened a folder. I installed a motion-activated camera in the hallway on November 23rd, after her first visit, just in case. You've been recording her? Yes. Watch this. He showed me footage from November 26th, time-stamped 7:47 p.m. Nicole walking down the hallway, stopping at the file cabinet, opening the top drawer, looking through folders, taking photos with her phone. 3 photos, then closing the drawer and going to the bathroom. Why would she do that? I asked. Because she's not just here to apologize, Jordan said calmly. She's here for something else. We just don't know what yet. Monday afternoon, 4:15 p.m. The doorbell rang again. This time Nicole wasn't alone. A woman in an expensive gray suit stood beside her. Professional, cold, carrying a leather briefcase. Mom, Nicole said. Her voice was different now, harder. This is Sandra Klein. She's my attorney. My heart stopped. Your attorney? Sandra smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. Brooks, may we come in? We have some important matters to discuss regarding Jordan's custody and financial guardianship. I looked at Nicole. She couldn't meet my eyes. What's going on? I asked. Please, Ms. Brooks, this will be easier inside. I should have closed the door, should have called James Mitchell immediately, but I was in shock. I stepped aside. They came into my living room, sat on my couch. Sandra opened her briefcase and pulled out a folder. Jordan appeared in the hallway. He'd heard the doorbell. He looked at Nicole, at Sandra, at the briefcase. His face showed nothing. "Mrs. Brooks," Sandra began, "my client, Nicole Patterson, has retained my services to address some legal irregularities regarding her son, Jordan Brooks." Legal irregularities? Yes. You see, Ms. Patterson never formally terminated her parental rights to Jordan. She remains his legal mother, and as his mother, she has certain rights regarding his care and his finances. She abandoned him 11 years ago. Sandra's smile got tighter. That's not how my client characterizes it. She placed Jordan in informal kinship care with you while she sought treatment for medical issues. That's not abandonment. That's responsible parenting. I couldn't breathe. That's a lie. Is it? Sandra pulled out papers from her folder. Because Ms. Patterson has documentation showing she maintained consistent involvement in Jordan's life over the past 11 years. She spread the papers on my coffee table. Official-looking documents with stamps and signatures and dates. Co-parenting agreement, dated January 15, 2011. Financial support records, monthly money orders from 2011 to 2021. Visit logs, documented monthly visits, phone records, regular Sunday evening calls. My vision blurred. These are fake. She was never here. She never called. She never sent money. Can you prove that, Ms. Brooks? Sandra asked softly. Because my client has documentation, notarized receipts, dated photographs, witness statements. Unless you have evidence to the contrary. I looked at Jordan. He was standing perfectly still, watching Nicole. His face was completely blank. "Nicole," I said, my voice shaking. "Tell her the truth. Tell her you weren't here." Nicole finally looked at me. Her eyes were cold. "I'm sorry, Mom, but Jordan is my son, and he's a minor with substantial assets. He needs proper financial management. He needs his mother. You don't care about Jordan. You care about the money." Sandra stood up. "Ms. Brooks, we're not here to argue. We're here to inform you that Ms. Patterson will be filing for full custody and financial guardianship of her minor son. She has legal standing as his biological mother, and she has documentation of maintained parental involvement. Jordan is 16. He gets a say. At 16, his preference is considered, but it's not determinative, especially when the custodian," she looked at me, "has been operating without legal authority for over a decade." I felt like I was drowning. 11 years. 11 years of raising Jordan, fighting for him, documenting everything. And it might not be enough. Jordan finally spoke. "Nana Shirley." I looked at him. He was calm, too calm. "It's okay," he said quietly. "Let them talk." "What?" "Let them present all their evidence. Let them say everything they want to say." He looked at Nicole, at Sandra. "You have documents proving my mother was involved?" "Yes," Sandra said. "Visits, phone calls, financial support?" "All documented." "Good," Jordan said. "We'll need to see all of that evidence, every document, every date, every detail." Sandra looked confused. "We're not negotiating with you, young man. We're informing you of legal proceedings." "I understand, but you'll need to present evidence in court, right? For a judge?" "Yes." "Then I want to see it all now, so I know exactly what you're claiming." Sandra and Nicole exchanged a glance. "We'll provide discovery during the legal process," Sandra said. "I'd prefer to see it now." "That's not how this works." Jordan nodded once. "Okay, then we'll see you in court." He turned and walked back to his room, closed the door. Sandra looked annoyed. Nicole looked uncomfortable. "We'll be in touch with formal paperwork," Sandra said, gathering her documents. "Ms. Brooks, I suggest you retain an attorney." They left. I sat on my couch, shaking, crying. 11 years, everything I'd done, and it might not matter. Jordan emerged from his room 20 minutes later. He sat beside me. "Nana Shirley, it's okay." "It's not okay. She's going to take you. Take your money. Take everything." "No, she's not." "You heard her. She has documents. Proof." "She has forgeries," Jordan said calmly. "Very good forgeries. Professional, but forgeries." I stared at him. "How do you know?" "Because I've been documenting our life for 7 years. Every single day. Every meal. Every therapy session. Every school meeting, every dollar you spent, every hour we were together. I know, baby. I helped you scan it all. Right, and I created hash values for every document, timestamps that can't be altered, a verification chain that proves exactly when each document was created and who created it. But Nicole has documents too. Fake ones, created recently, and I can prove it. He pulled out his phone, showed me photos he'd taken during Nicole's visits. She was gathering information, learning our patterns, finding out enough details to make believable forgeries. Why didn't you stop her? Because I needed her to commit, to create the fake documents, to present them as evidence, to testify under oath that they're real. My breath caught. You've been planning this. Yes, since the first time she visited, since the moment I saw her taking photos of your file cabinet. He looked at me with those serious eyes. You kept records for 11 years to protect me. I spent 7 years building a system to protect those records, to make sure no one could ever change what really happened. But Jordan, what if it's not enough? What if the judge believes her? Then we lose, he said simply. But Nana Shirley, I built DocuChain for this exact moment. To prove what's true when someone tries to rewrite history, Nicole is betting that her documents look real enough to fool a judge. And I'm betting that my system is good enough to prove they're fake. We're about to find out if I'm as good as I think I am. He squeezed my hand, rare physical contact. You've been protecting me for 11 years. Now let me protect you. The next 3 months were the hardest of my life. Depositions, discovery, legal meetings. Nicole and her lawyer presenting their evidence, document after document showing she'd been there, been involved, been a mother. And all the while Jordan sat quietly in his room, building something, checking something, preparing something. What are you doing? I'd ask. Analyzing, he'd say. Every document they've provided, every claim they've made. I'm finding the cracks. And are you? Finding cracks? He looked at me. Nana Shirley, they're not cracks. They're canyons. And when we get to court, everyone's going to see them. But first, we had to survive the depositions. We had to sit across from Nicole and watch her lie, under oath, about being my partner in raising Jordan. That's where part 3 begins. In a conference room, with Jordan's entire future hanging in the balance, and with me wondering if my quiet, serious grandson really could do what he promised. Prove the truth when someone tried to bury it in lies. On January 14th, 2022, at 9 a.m., I sat in a conference room at Sandra Klein's law office on Peachtree Street and watched my daughter lie under oath. She looked good. Hairstyled, makeup subtle, wearing a soft blue sweater that made her look maternal and trustworthy. Sandra led her through questions they'd clearly rehearsed. Ms. Patterson, can you describe your involvement in Jordan's life over the past 11 years? Nicole's voice was steady, warm. I tried to maintain consistent contact. I visited monthly when finances allowed. I sent financial support regularly. I called every Sunday evening to check on his progress. Why didn't you maintain physical custody? I felt Jordan needed stability with my mother while I addressed my mental health issues, but I never stopped being his mother. Sandra slid documents across the table. Co-parenting agreement from January 2011. Financial records showing $43,000 in money orders sent over 11 years. Visit logs documenting monthly trips to Atlanta. Phone records showing Sunday evening calls. They looked real, professional, convincing. Can you describe specific visits? Nicole nodded. December 2011, I brought Jordan a red fire truck for Christmas. April 2012, I took him to Zoo Atlanta. He loved the elephants. September 2013, I helped with kindergarten registration. November 2015, I attended his school Thanksgiving program. Specific details. Confident delivery. I wanted to scream. None of it was true. James Mitchell, sitting beside me, put a hand on my arm. Stay calm. Let her talk. After Nicole finished, it was my turn. Sandra Klein looked at me like a hunter. Ms. Brooks, why didn't you establish formal legal guardianship in 2010? I thought Nicole would come back. I didn't think I needed to. So you acted without legal authority for 11 years? I acted to protect my grandson. Did you keep my client from seeing Jordan? She never tried to see him. But you have no proof she didn't visit, do you? You didn't document every person who came to your house? My stomach twisted. I kept calendars, detailed records. Of what you chose to document, can you tell me what you had for dinner on March 15th, 2014? No, but you're certain my client never visited that day. Your memory is selective, Ms. Brooks. After 2 hours, I left feeling like we'd already lost. Jordan sat in that conference room, hands folded, face expressionless. Jordan, do you remember your mother visiting? Sandra asked. No. Never? Not once in 11 years? I don't recall any visits from Nicole Patterson between November 2010 and November 2021. Is your memory of childhood reliable? I have documented memory difficulties related to autism. Many childhood events are unclear. Sandra smiled. So you might have forgotten visits? I don't forget patterns. If Nicole visited monthly for 11 years, that's a pattern. I would remember the pattern even if I didn't remember specific visits. But you just said your memory is unreliable. My memory of non-routine events is unreliable. My memory of routines is excellent. That's autism. Throughout the deposition, Jordan did something strange. He asked to review every document Nicole provided. Took photos with his phone of each one. Sandra objected. That's unusual. The supervising attorney allowed it. The subject can review evidence. Jordan photographed everything. Every fake document. Perfect high-resolution images. 1 week before trial, I couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. I'd lost 12 pounds. We're going to lose him, Ruby, I told my friend. 11 years, and it won't matter. You don't know that. Her documents look real. I can't prove she's lying. Jordan appeared in the doorway. Yes, you can. He sat down, opened his laptop. I've spent 3 months analyzing every piece of evidence Nicole and Sandra provided. And? They made mistakes. The co-parenting agreement claims to be from January 2011, but the PDF metadata shows creation date November 18th, 2021, 10:47 a.m., 2 days after the news story. They could have retyped an old agreement. Look at the font rendering. This matches Windows 10, build 19043, released May 2021. A 2011 document would show Windows 7 rendering. He showed comparisons, subtle differences in letter curves, but they were there. The Western Union receipts, serial numbers WU202114587 through WU202114623. Sequential, printed within minutes, not spread over 11 years. The Zoo Atlanta photo, he pulled it up. Stock photo from Shutterstock. License SS-202-1-448576. Downloaded November 19th, 2021. Facial editing software was used. Document after document, each one exposed. James Mitchell had been listening. Jordan, this is prosecution-grade forensics. Can you present this in court? Yes, if the judge allows me to testify. You just might have saved us. Fulton County Courthouse. Judge Helen Montgomery presiding. Sharp eyes, gray hair, known for being thorough. Sandra Klein presented Nicole's case smoothly. Documents entered into evidence. Nicole testified, telling her prepared story. James cross-examined. You testified you visited December 2011 with a fire truck? Yes. From which store? Toys R Us, I think. Which location? You lived in San Francisco, 5 hours away by plane. I don't remember exactly. You flew cross-country to deliver a toy but didn't stay for Christmas? Small cracks appeared. You took Jordan to Zoo Atlanta April 2012? Yes. He loved the elephants and the pandas. James pulled out a document. Your Honor, Zoo Atlanta's records show their first pandas arrived November 2014. In April 2012, they had no pandas. Nicole went pale. Maybe I'm remembering wrong. Or you were never there at all. I presented my binders. 11 years of documentation. School records, therapy notes, bank statements, calendars. Judge Montgomery reviewed them. These show you were the primary caregiver, but they don't prove Ms. Patterson wasn't involved. My heart sank. Sandra cross-examined. Isn't it possible my client visited and you didn't document it? If she'd visited, I would have written it down. But you can't prove she didn't visit. You can't prove a negative. I looked at Jordan. He gave me a tiny nod. No, I said. I can't prove she didn't visit, but my grandson can. Judge Montgomery looked up sharply. Excuse me? James stood. Your Honor, we request Jordan Brooks testify. He has expertise in document verification. Sandra objected. He's 16 and biased. He's also the creator of software sold for $850,000, James said. He's uniquely qualified. Judge Montgomery thought for a moment. I'll allow it, but this better be substantial. February 24th, 2022, 10 a.m. Jordan walked to the witness stand, hands shaking slightly. He was sworn in. Jordan, James began, can you explain DocuChain? It's a document verification system analyzing metadata, timestamps, digital signatures, and cross-references to determine authenticity. You created this? Yes, over 18 months. Why? Jordan looked at me. To make sure no one could ever change what really happened in my life. To preserve truth. Have you analyzed Ms. Patterson's documents? Yes, all of them. Jordan connected his laptop to the courtroom display. Document 1, co-parenting agreement allegedly from January 2011. File properties appeared. Metadata shows creation date November 18, 2021, 10:47 a.m. Font rendering shows Windows 10 characteristics that didn't exist in 2011. Side-by-side comparisons filled the screen. Judge Montgomery leaned forward. Document 2, Western Union receipts. He displayed serial numbers. All sequential. Generated within 7 minutes on November 20th, 2021. I have written confirmation from Western Union's fraud department. Sandra objected. Jordan produced a notarized letter from Western Union. Judge Montgomery's expression hardened. Continue. The Zoo Atlanta photograph appeared. Stock photo. Shutterstock license SS-2021-448576. Downloaded November 19, 2021. Facial recognition shows digital alteration. Original and altered versions side by side. The differences were clear. Additionally, therapist notes prove I was at occupational therapy during this alleged zoo visit. Dr. Patricia Williams signed records. GPS data from Nana Shirley's phone showing we were at 2750 Peachtree Road, not Zoo Atlanta. Finally, phone records. Nicole claims weekly Sunday calls for 11 years. Her actual phone records, subpoenaed by our attorney, 0 calls to Nana Shirley's number between December 2010 and November 2021. Judge Montgomery stared at the evidence. At Nicole. Say, Patterson, did you fabricate these documents? Silence. Miss Patterson, I asked you a question. Nicole's voice broke. Yes, the courtroom erupted. Order, the gavel struck. Miss Patterson, you understand you've committed perjury? Yes, Nicole was crying. I saw the news story, the money. I was drowning in debt. Sandra said we needed proof, so we created it. Then it felt real. I wanted it to be real. I wanted to have been there. Ms. Klein, were you aware these documents were fraudulent? Sandra's face went white. Your Honor, my client represented them as authentic. A 16-year-old caught them in 3 months. You'll be hearing from the state bar. Judge Montgomery turned to Nicole. Do you withdraw your petition? Yes, I withdraw everything. Do you acknowledge Shirley Brooks has been Jordan's sole caregiver? Yes, I abandoned him. She saved him. I don't deserve any of this. Nicole sobbed. I'm so sorry. Judge Montgomery's voice was ice. This court finds Nicole Patterson abandoned her parental responsibilities in November 2010 with no contact for 11 years. Her claims have been proven fraudulent beyond doubt. She looked at me. Full legal custody and guardianship, including financial guardianship, is awarded to Shirley Brooks, effective immediately. The gavel struck. We'd won. 6 months later, I sit on my front porch at 7 a.m., drinking coffee and watching sunrise over Oakwood Avenue. Same porch where I stood 12 years ago watching Nicole's car disappear. Jordan is inside, probably at his computer. He's 17 now. Started Pattern Integrity in March. Software testing hiring neurodivergent developers. His first hire was Isaiah Thompson, a young man with autism I'd taught in 2nd grade. The school said he'd never hold a job. Now he's lead QA tester, making $65,000 yearly. 6 employees so far, all neurodivergent, all people the world wrote off. We see patterns others miss, Jordan told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. That's not a disability, that's an advantage. Nicole got 18 months probation, 500 hours community service at the Marcus Autism Center where Jordan was first evaluated. I saw her there last month. She was reading to nonverbal children. Patient, gentle, present. She looked up, saw me. We both froze. Mom, she stood. I'm learning about autism. What I should have learned years ago. What Jordan needed. That's good. Is he happy? I thought about Jordan at breakfast, making his eggs and toast the same way for 12 years, his new yellow cup replacing the cracked old one. Yes, I said. He's happy. Good. That's all I wanted. I drove home thinking about forgiveness. Whether some things can be forgiven, whether they should be, I don't know yet. Maybe never will. But Jordan is safe, thriving, building a life that matters. And I'm here, still making eggs and toast every morning, still keeping records. Because that's what love looks like sometimes. Just showing up. Every single day. Jordan comes out with 2 coffees, one for him, one to refill mine. Morning, Nana Shirley. Morning, baby. We watch the street together. Comfortable silence. I've been thinking about Mom, he says. I don't forgive her for leaving, but I understand why. She couldn't handle my autism. Instead of staying and resenting me, she left. That was honest. You don't have to defend her. I'm not. I'm just glad it happened. If she'd stayed, I'd have been raised by someone who couldn't love me as I am. Instead, I was raised by someone who chose me every day. That's better. My eyes fill with tears. You chose me too, I say. You could have let her win. Of course I fought. You're my Nana. Nobody rewrites our truth. After a moment, Jordan says, I'm still documenting everything. Our coffee, these conversations, everything. Why? The case is over. Not for court, for memory, for proof this life happened. So someday when I'm old and you're gone, I can see the pattern. The pattern of a grandmother who never gave up. I take his hand. He doesn't pull away. That's the only pattern that matters, I say. I'm Shirley Brooks. I'm 68 years old. I raised my autistic grandson alone for 12 years. I fought schools and systems and courts and lies. And I learned something at 68 that I wish I'd known at 57. Love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet documentation, eggs and toast at the same time every morning, keeping calendars and saving receipts, showing up when no one else will. And sometimes if you document it well enough, love becomes proof, becomes evidence, becomes truth no one can take away. The greatest victory wasn't winning in court. It was Jordan saying, you chose me, because I did, every single day, and I'd do it again. Some patterns can't be faked, like the pattern of a grandmother who never gave up, and a grandson who grew up knowing exactly what love looks like. Truth documented, truth verified, truth that stands forever. That's what we built together. A life, total word count. Part 3, 2,997 words. If this story touched you, leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. And if you know someone raising a grandchild or fighting for a child no one else believed in, share this with them. Thank you for staying with me until the end. Shirley Brooks, Atlanta, Georgia.